Hey guys, it's Jarrett here of Basketball Tip-Off, and I'm here to share with you my bold predictions for all 30 teams in the NBA. Now, I have two bold predictions for every single team, one being a positive prediction and one being a negative prediction. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that all these predictions are going to come true. They're bold, and I'm not saying I necessarily agree with them all. These are just ones that some of them I do see as very possible. Others, they're a little out there. But that's what makes them bold, does it not? Now, I'm going to start off with the Western Conference teams, so sit back and enjoy the video. Now, the order of the teams is actually based on what order I see the teams finishing in the final standings. Now, some of my bold predictions will dispute the order the teams are in, but this is what I realistically believe the teams will finish in. The first team I'm going to start off with at 15 is the Phoenix Suns. Now, the first of my Suns' bold predictions are that the Suns will move at least two vets with massive contracts. The Suns owe $75 million over the next 2 years to Tyson Chandler, Jared Dudley, and Eric Bledsoe. All three of those players are solid players. Bledsoe is a borderline all-star almost and has played at that level for the past couple of years. But him and the other two really they don't figure into the Suns' plans for the future. I mean, they're trying to get younger, obvious with Devin Booker, Josh Jackson, and Marquise Chris, Tyler Ulis, all those guys. Those guys are going to be there to help build the Suns to the next level. And it'd be nice if the Suns could go out and get role players in free agency next season to help those young guys out. Tyson Chandler and Jared Dudley, their contracts make no sense for the team right now. Bledsoe, I can sort of live with as he's a great starting point guard. My negative prediction for the Suns is that they do not make any moves before the deadline, which means they are trapped with the contracts of these players. Having all that money still on the books does not leave them a lot of room to make great free agent signings that will help boost the team, whether it's role players or if they somehow attract a star talent, which is unlikely considering the state Phoenix is in, but they do have enough young pieces to possibly draw an all-star talent. Who knows? My next team at 14 is the Sacramento Kings. My bold prediction for the Kings this year is that Willie Cauley-Stein will have his breakout season. He averaged 8.1 points per game with 4.5 rebounds on 53% shooting, which decent numbers for your sophomore year, especially coming off the bench for most of the season, as DeMarcus Cousins was on the team for half the season about. Now, I can see Cauley-Stein averaging probably pretty close to 15, maybe 16 points per game, maybe 8 boards. My not so great bold prediction for the Kings is that Harry Giles' injury problems, which has been well documented since his sophomore season in high school, where he tore his ACL, meniscus, and MCL, and then tore his ACL again during his senior season. I believe they will potentially follow him to Sacramento. He only played 26 games last year as a freshman at Duke and only started 6 games. And that's a pretty big concern, and one of the major reasons why he fell out of the lottery, and the Kings were able to select him with Portland's pick at 20. Now, I still like the pick of Harry Giles. I'm just thinking he could potentially become a bust and never get over his injury issues. Now, at 13, I have one of my favorite NBA franchises of all time, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, my bold prediction for the season is that Kyle Kuzma and Brandon Ingram both have explosive seasons. Brandon Ingram was compared heavily to Durant coming into last season, and he underwhelmed. He only had about 9.4 points per game, and his shooting numbers weren't terrific. He only shot 40% from the field. So look to see him have a big year. Luke Walton was quoted early in the season saying he wanted the offense to go through Ingram and be the top scorer. And Lonzo Ball could give him a lot of looks, as D'Angelo Russell was not the ideal point guard in a system for Ingram. Also, look at Kyle Kuzma. He had averaged 17.3 points per game shot over 50% from the field. Now, yes, that was just preseason, but the kid looks amazing. He looks like he can score any way possible. Now, my negative bold prediction for the Lakers is that the hype around Lonzo Ball is too much and he underwhelms. Lonzo Ball's the most hyped rookie in well over a decade, and I would say it's to the levels of when LeBron James came in the league. I mean, most of that has been attributed to the spotlight that his family has had. Most of that from LeVar Ball. Not a big fan of his, and I hope he just stays as far away from the Lakers as possible. Now, at number 12, I have the Dallas Mavericks. They're kind of in crossroads right now. The last 2 seasons, they haven't made any big free agency acquisitions. Understandable by the lack of interest. I believe all of that will change after the season with acquiring Dennis Smith. And this is what leads into my bold prediction. Dennis Smith is the steal of the draft. Last night, he lit it up. He had 16 points with 10 assists on 50% shooting. That's a pretty damn good rookie debut, I must say. Now, I hope that he can keep that play up all season, and he has a pretty good chance at being a Rookie of the Year candidate. My negative bold prediction is kind of a sad one, and it's that Dirk Nowitzki rides off into mediocrity. He's been showing signs of aging. His scoring was down from last year. He only had 10 points last night, which is something that I'm expecting from Dirk about every game. Dirk Nowitzki, obviously one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, one of the best pure shooters, but that's no longer really going to be the case. The Mavericks are a middle-of-the-road team. They're going to be bouncing around the 11th seed. They could be as high as the 9th. They could be as low as 13, maybe even 14. My bold prediction is the Mavericks will not give Dirk the proper send-off competition-wise. At number 11, I have the Utah Jazz. Now, the Jazz broke back into the playoffs last year with the amazing play of Rudy Gobert and Gordon Hayward last year. Sadly for the Jazz, Gordon Hayward left for the Celtics in free agency. Now, he got hurt 2 nights ago against the Cavaliers in a scary injury. So Gordon Hayward, from us at Basketball Tip-Off, and I'm sure many fans out there across the NBA, we're all praying for you, man. And we want you to get back on the court as soon as possible and just return to that level of all-star play you showed us last season. Anyway, getting back to the Jazz, my bold prediction for the season is that Rodney Hood will kind of fill in offensively for what Gordon Hayward put up. Now, he won't be averaging as many points per game as Gordon Hayward, but he'll be averaging enough to where it's not as big of a blow, and the players behind him will step up. Now, my negative bold prediction, it's not as much for the season as more for the end of the season. It's been a trend ever since Stockton and Malone left Utah that the stars of the team end up leaving. You can look at Darren Williams, you can look at Paul Millsap, Carlos Boozer, the list goes on. The Jazz could have had a playoff contender for years, but it's just been inhibited by all the stars leaving, as the Jazz are not known for having the best market in Salt Lake City. Not much goes on out there, and it's arguably the smallest market in the NBA. So I do see a potential trend where we could see Rudy Gobert leaving. Now, Rudy Gobert seems like he's a pretty loyal guy, but so did Gordon Hayward. So my bold prediction is that the Jazz will keep losing stars as they have for the past decade. At number 10, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies have been one of the most consistent franchises in the NBA for about the last decade. They've had 7 consecutive playoff appearances, which is very impressive. They are more known for their traditional style of play for basketball, and it's been dubbed the grit and grind era for them. Now, with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph leaving the team, there's questions to if they can still keep up that same style of play, and I think they will be able to, and that's why my bold prediction for the season is that they have an 8th consecutive appearance in the Western Conference playoffs. They still have Marcus Gasol and Mike Conley, who are 2 amazing players and among the best at their positions in the West. JaMychal Green will start in place of Zach Randolph, and I expect big things from him this year. I'm also expecting a rebound season for Chandler Parsons, who had a terrible injury-ridden 2017 campaign. So I look for him to make up for that big contract he was paid out. My negative prediction for the Grizzlies, however, is that with the end of the grit and grind era most likely happening as Tony Allen and Zach Randolph, as I mentioned earlier, have left the team, it will bring an end to the 7 consecutive playoff appearances for the Grizzlies. They just do not have the star power and bench depth that many teams in the Western Conference have, and they really didn't do anything to improve. They were already a fringe team in the playoffs last year, and I'm calling the end of the grit and grind era and the end to 7 consecutive playoff runs. At number 9, and the final team I have missing the playoffs on my regular projections, is the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, my bold prediction contradicts that, saying that the Pelicans will make the playoffs behind the former Kentucky Wildcats front court consisting of DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. Now, those two are the best at their positions, and I'm expecting them to lead this team. I mean, they have to. If you have the 2 best players at your position, how can you not make the playoffs? Jrue Holiday's a solid point guard and a former All-Star player. Now, in the Western Conference, he's not among the top guards. I would say probably outside the top 10, but he's still a great player to have. The Pelicans don't have much depth. They had Rajon Rondo. He should be getting minutes at the point guard. I think they may be starting him as well, and have Holiday slide over to shooting guard. We'll see how that works out this season. My second bold prediction for the Pelicans is that they will have a fire sale before the All-Star break. The Rondo experiment will fail. DeMarcus and Anthony Davis cannot get the team to the level of play it should be, so they're going to start trading off players. I would not be surprised if Cousin gets traded, and there's a potential possibility that Anthony Davis could also walk out the door for money and future picks. Jrue Holiday could get his name on the chopping block. Rondo could get waived or traded. Anything's possible with this team. It could be a mess. Well, that's the end of the video. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and share a comment if you agree or disagree with my predictions. I would like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you're new to the page, leave us a like and follow us on Facebook. We also have an Instagram account, so you can look for us on Instagram. And make sure to stick around for the next couple videos I have. Next, I'll be doing the Western Conference playoff teams that I'm projecting, followed by the Eastern Conference lottery teams, and then the Eastern Conference playoff teams. Thanks for watching the video, and have a good rest of your day.